A burn injury is really a devastating injury in a lot of ways. The biggest problem, of course, is destruction of the skin. Patients aren't able to keep warm, they're not able to fight infection, they lose fluid, and they have a tremendous amount of pain. Patients spend a lot of time in the hospital. They have to undergo really painful dressing changes. They require multiple skin grafting procedures in the operating room. And even after all of that is done, they have to learn how to be people all over again.
My husband and I were married in 1997 and waited to be parents until 2003. My son Zachary was born in August of 2003. It was a really magical experience. For my entire life, I had expectations of being a mother and always taking care of my kids, being able to be there for them 100% and always protect them and never letting anything bad happen to them.
How much will it record?
It was scary. Of course, growing up, I was always, I don't want kids. I want to, be whatever. And when we have Zachary, it's amazing how much it changes you, You really don't think you could love something that much. And then we were talking about getting pregnant again, and then, we got pregnant with Isabella. Zachary was all about her for the longest time. He used to wake up in the morning and be, "Where's Isabella?" Since he was a baby. As they've grown up, they got the sibling rivalry and stuff like that, but I know they love each other.
Stop.
Yeah, she was very energized all the time, very active. I don't know, she was just always there, just being Isabella, I guess.
She's very caring, she's very considerate, she's very thoughtful, and she's very kind.
Like, she just became the person that the little girls were around, and same as all the little kids on our street, it's Isabella, here comes Isabella. She's always been the little girl that everyone gravitates towards, and ever since the accident, she's getting a lot of attention, but the stuff that she does and says, it's just amazing.
So it was a nice Saturday afternoon, St. Patrick's Day. Children were riding their bikes and playing in the street, and parents were sitting in the driveway watching them.
All the neighbors gathered around. We had like some pop-up shade things and pulling the barbecues out, and it was coming towards the evening, so we were going to get the fire going.
Isabella was sitting in Zachary's lap, and my husband was trying to light a fire inside the trough.
We were in the front yard in the driveway, so we got this trough to start a fire, but the night before it had rained, so it was a little wet. So my dad thought to put some gasoline on it to light it.
It's amazing how, 5 minutes can change someone's life forever,
Tragedy strikes a Phoenix family. An 8-year-old girl and her father rushed to the hospital tonight.
It happened so fast. Everything happened so fast. It was just loud bang, and people were, yelling.
I heard the big pop, and I opened my eyes and I just saw fire. And so I moved my sister to the grass next to me, and I stopped, dropped, and rolled like I was taught all my life.
I saw our neighbor with a fire extinguisher running towards the street. The black smoke was coming from my driveway, and I was on the phone with 911, not knowing what I was going to find when I get to the driveway.
My shins had caught on fire. They weren't on fire after the roll, and I saw my sister like squirming around, screaming, so I ran to get the hose and just put her out.
My pants were on fire, so I put myself out. And then when I got up, I heard people screaming her name, and then I just ran over there.
I asked Isabella just to look at my eyes. She was asking questions if she was going to be able to go to school, if she was going to have to miss some days from school. She was missing pieces of her clothes, and skin was very charred. 2 paramedics trucks arrived. I went in with Isabella in a paramedics truck, and my husband was loaded in the other one.
Hey guys, fire officials say both that dad and daughter are still in critical condition here tonight, but the father at least was talking and alert when paramedics got there. The neighbors tell me the family was having an outdoor barbecue.
My mom was with me in the ambulance, but my dad kept trying to beg and beg. He was like, please let me get in the ambulance with her. I need to be with her. Paramedics were holding him back, and they said, you have to go in a separate one. Once we got there, they brought me into the ER room with shower heads at the top. I was laying there, and they said, get ready, Mom, she's gonna scream. I don't remember anything after that.
It took a long time for them to wash off the remains of the gasoline, as well as the skin that was hanging off her body, until her body was completely white.
She had sustained burns to both of her legs. The majority to her legs were 3rd-degree burns. She had wounds to her back. She had wounds to her arms. She had wounds basically everywhere. I told Lily, this isn't her normal skin. This is burnt skin. She started to think a lot more about okay, where are we going with this? And is my child gonna be okay? And is my child gonna live? I just basically explained to her that burns typically take about 72 hours to fully declare themselves. So if this is what I'm seeing now, there is a high possibility that her wounds are gonna look a lot worse. Her mom looked at me and was like, well, what does that mean to us? And I told her that she was gonna be here with us for a while, that it's going to be painful. It's gonna be a long process, but she is gonna be okay.
Isabella suffered 3rd-degree burns to half of her body. She'll have to undergo several painful surgeries.
Isabella's dad was burned on his right arm and ankle, but the little girl suffered far worse. She has 3rd-degree burns to 50% of her body.
The following day, it was a very difficult visit. She looked so fragile. She looked like my little baby. She was very swollen. She was receiving a lot of fluids, IV fluids. She wasn't responsive because she was very heavily sedated.
At first it didn't really look like her. She was so swollen from the injuries, and I just kind of sat there for a little bit with her.
You know, she was in a coma for a while. Anyway, they put her in a coma. I didn't even go see her for 5 or 6 days, I think. She was right down the hallway from me. I'd go down in the evening and look in the door, but I was just afraid what she was going to say to me. It's selfishly, I was afraid of being able to handle, her maturity, I guess, what she would decide to say.
Initially, we thought that Isabella suffered burns to 50% of her body. Later on, it was discovered that Isabella suffered burns to 65% of her body.
Isabella required a breathing tube and mechanical ventilation, and we had to do some emergency surgeries on her because of the depth and extent of her burns. And then we got her tucked in and we started to go to work on her. When taking care of burn patients, we tend to get focused on the acute care, the care in the hospital. But from a patient and from a family perspective, it is really the time out of the hospital that is the most important and can be the most difficult.
The first time I'd been back home, I think that was one of the worst days. I just felt like I was leaving her.
Isabella remained intubated for 2 weeks. I remember I was at home and I received a phone call from a nurse letting me know that somebody wanted to say hello. And that was Isabella. Her breathing tube was removed and she had a chance to say hello.
I woke up. I was in a hospital room. I didn't know what happened. I honestly thought it was just like a scary dream that I had. But I woke up and I saw I was just in a hospital room, and I wanted to know where my family was. I wanted to know where my dad was, and I was just very confused.
She was asking for family. I call her mom, and she's like, listen, you need to, go see Isabella. And I'm like, no, I can't. I didn't know what she was going to say to me. I didn't know if she was going to be mad. I knew she was still going to be, happy to see me because, we were close. And she's like, get over yourself and get down there. She needs somebody.
I always kept wondering, where is he? Why won't he ever visit me? I want Daddy to come visit me.
I walked down the hallway and the look on her face and how happy she was to see me was just so amazing.
He just immediately started crying, and everybody had so much emotion, and my dad immediately kneeled down and was hugging me, and it was just such a nice moment to be able to surprise them with such a good thing.
My pumpkin, I love you.
We learned early on to take it one day at a time. We thought she was gonna stay in the hospital for 50 days, and that was already too long. She ended up staying 276 days, 9 full months.
To heal her, I had to torture her. That's a little bit dramatic, but it's not inaccurate. The dressing changes, all the surgeries, all the rehabilitation, the physical therapy, the occupational therapy that patients have to go through is unbelievably painful. It's painful physically, it's painful emotionally and psychologically.
I first saw her during a dressing change. She was just so young and so vulnerable. I just remember going in there and just checking her range of motion, seeing where I'm gonna have problems down the line so we can start helping them right from the get-go.
It was very disappointing dealing with some kind of a setback, failed graft or an infection.
Everything at every corner, everywhere we went, just couldn't catch breaks,
I had to go through about 66 surgeries. Some of the surgeries were pretty major, so whenever I would wake up, I'd be in so much pain for hours, and my dad said it was so sad for him to have to be with me and watch me just not being able to really do anything to help except just be by my side.
What's supposed to be happening, the healing and the stuff, when it's not happening and time just goes on and on. After a while, you just don't know what to do. You just basically, we're driving back and forth on a freeway.
Like every other day, we'd go to the hospital, see her, and it was sad seeing her in pain and stuff, but then it just became like a schedule every day, just normal everyday life.
When I was alone, what I was going through my head was trying to figure out exactly how long I might be in here, how long until I can come out, be with my family more. And then I'd get mad and I'd be like, why would this have to happen to me? Why me? Why couldn't it have been anybody else? And I would get confused and I would get mad and I would get angry, and like through that time I would have so many different emotions.
My heart just went out to her when, she would feel pain. But it's so necessary to get her home. We want her functional and getting back to school, getting back to life.
There's a tendency to want to let people slack, and that is actually doing them a great disservice. Even though we know that on this day, with this thing, it hurts, it's torture, it's bad, we know that in the end it's going to make a difference and it's the right thing to do.
You go through so much. You don't realize, like, one day the bottom of her leg wasn't bandaged and it didn't hurt her, and I could rub her leg, and it was like a point for me that she was gonna be okay.
She was sitting in her wheelchair, really struggling. And I recall somebody walking by her room and she glanced over and gave him the biggest smile. And I said, how can you smile to them? And all I'm getting here is the runt of you. To that, she said to me,
you never know how much worse of a day they could be going through, and just one little smile for them could help them for the rest of the day.
She did. She smiled a lot more than I would have, I believe. She's different.
Isabella walks into a room and the room lights up. She's still very young, but still she's made a tremendous impact on people. I mean, she's nationally and internationally known for her injury and for her efforts and the fact that she survived and is doing so well.
I'd like to present our last Leader of the Pack award to Isabella McCune.
We were amazed to the amount of support that we received early on and continue to receive until today's date. We received an overwhelming support all over the world, from Australia, England, all over Europe, Canada, South America.
It just became this big thing, and it was very nice to see that she was getting better and all these people were giving all this support.
Whenever I was in surgeries or during a dressing change, they would play Taylor Swift, and I would just say, bring it louder so I could hear that, and it would distract me. And I wanted to visit you, but maybe you can come and visit me. I said a little note to her, and Taylor Swift actually said that she wanted to see me.
8-year-old Isabella McCune, greeted by her all-time favorite singer.
Oh, she's here, she's here, she's here. And I was like, what is it, what is it? And then I saw it was Taylor Swift.
Isabella has always been a very caring person, but this accident has made Isabella even more considerate of others and even more caring for other people.
When I tell people what I do for a living, it is not nearly as bad as everybody thinks it is, because I know the end of the story. And almost all of our stories here at the Arizona Burn Center have happy endings. Isabella's story has a happy ending.
I had a journal, and I had all the nurses, all the doctors, everybody I could sign it. It's so nice to keep that and be able to have memories of everybody great that helped me.
Little Isabella, a burn survivor, is finally going home 9 months to the day.
She is getting to go home for the holiday.
The day that I got to leave the hospital was so amazing. Dr. Foster took out my PICC line, and that means it's time to go out. All the nurses were lined up in a hallway. They had a cake for me. The superheroes were there. and it was just so much fun. Then I got to meet the first responders that came when I got burned.
This little 9-year-old girl demonstrated, maturity and poise way beyond her years. Although I see where she gets it. She gets it from her parents.
I mean, we were there for 9 months. Everyone there is just amazing at what they do. It's something that I'll remember forever.
All the nurses and techs and doctors always try to do their best to help you with everything you need, and because of that, I want to be a burn nurse. I can be an inspiration for other people. I can be the reason that some people might want to fight through this. But I'm still just the normal kid that goes to school, has homework, does chores.
But I want for my sister, I just want her to be treated normal. I don't want anyone to put her out of the way or not include her because of what happened to her.
I want her to live every day to the fullest. I want her to leave the pain because there's no room for it anymore in her life.
I just want her to always be happy. Strong, happy, confident, to be where every decision and everything she goes after is what would have normally been.
I consider my scars as my badges of honor. I have gone through this. I can get through anything the world throws at me.